The technology is now at such a point, we're proving this with Spoken every day, that this new dimension of audiobooks, multi-voice, which was never accessible to the indie author before at all, period. Off the table. Now, as accessible to you as single narrator. Does it take more hand-holding? It sure does. I know that firsthand because I'm finalizing all my chapters right now. But I will say this, the biggest growth in audiobooks is going to be multi-voice because of the new dimension that is now available to everybody.
Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, Reflectives, and welcome to episode 433 of the Stark Reflections podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre. In today's episode, I have an interview with Phil Marshall of Spoken.Press. Now, Phil Marshall is a physician, a scientist, and an AI entrepreneur. Taming the Perilous Skies is his debut novel, centered on his theory of persistence and a passion for how technology can transform our lives and how it can go terribly wrong. He's also the founder of Spoken. Using Spoken, authors who consider giving voice to their backlists can equip their brands with a whole new offering for their readers and an additional revenue stream with audio versions and multicast audio versions of their work. That conversation and interview with Phil is coming up later in this episode. But first, let's hear a word from this episode's sponsor.
Monitoring sales and advertising on multiple platforms takes away valuable writing time. ScribeCount gives you that time back by automatically collecting that data and displaying it in an easy-to-understand dashboard. What once took hours now takes minutes. ScribeCount, numbers from your words, built by indie authors for indie authors. Subscribe today, get back to writing, and leave the rest to us.
In addition to this episode's sponsor, I want to say a huge shout out and thank you to all those who support this podcast over at patreon.com/starkreflections, as well as my awesome coffee buddies over at buymeacoffee.com/markleslie. Thanks for your coffees and your patronage of this podcast. Really appreciate the support you guys help me with. Now, I want to get into comments from recent episodes. And so for episode 432, Creativity, Connection, and Community, with police officer and author A.L. Waldell, Edwin Downward says over at starkreflections.ca, I've got two reflections out of this show. The first is the value of seeking out community and listening to a wide range of voices regarding this writing life. Even though a lot of that advice will conflict with my writing process, I need to be carefully mined for those nuggets that work for me. The second is the whole concept of putting our work out there and allowing the feedback we get to help us improve our craft. I could easily go back to my first novel and give it a complete rewrite, but to do so would mean putting my present novel on hold for who knows how long before I'm satisfied with the result. I'm not doing that because I have this new novel to polish up and publish. Thank you for that comment, Edwin. I do, that value of the community. And then again, not just taking everything, because you can't, right? There's so many conflicting bits of advice, but actually applying it to your own world and the goals and the things that are important to you. So thank you for that comment. And here's another comment I received. Now, it was a direct message to me, and I'm not going to mention the person's name, but I do appreciate the feedback. And I wanted to share it here. And the reason I want to share it here is specifically to ask you, dear listener, what you think. So please let me know your response. So here's the comment. I hate to complain, but I guess this is one. Your voice is beautiful, but your bumper music segments drives me crazy. The contrast is so great. It just irritates. I listen to the podcasts in the evening when I first go to bed, and that's not a good time to hear this wonderful voice, and then boom. So I no longer listen to your podcast. If you ever eliminate that irritating bumper music or change it to something pleasant, please let me know. I'd love to listen to your podcast again. So, first thing is, I mean, come on, this is lovely. I appreciate being told my voice is beautiful. I've had a few people tell me that in the past few years, and honestly, it's so lovely. It's so lovely to hear. I'm touched. I'm honored, because I never thought my voice was anything special. But that's lovely. That's really just very kind and amazing for someone to tell me. Second, I'm a little horrified to think that the bumpers and the music for this podcast is annoying. And so you may have noticed it already, but I'm going to adjust the volume of the bumpers and the opening and the closing. But what I'd really like to ask you, dear listener, is I think this may be a valid concern, and I never thought of it before. But what do you think? Is the music too startlingly or shockingly punchy? Does it take away from your enjoyment of the podcast? Or maybe it's just too loud. Maybe the way I mastered it was just too loud. Now, I did pay for use of this music by Kevin MacLeod, and I really do like it. It energizes me. It makes me feel good. So I thought, this is punchy, upbeat music that, could make you feel good too. But I would consider changing it if it's taking away from your ability to enjoy the podcast. So I did adjust it. I tried to adjust it down, and I can continue to play with it because I really would hate to lose the music itself, but maybe I can make it less irritating for some of you. But let me know, please. And thank you. and as well for the person who left this comment. I'm so glad they took the time to let me know, to share their concerns with me, because feedback is always appreciated. This is a community in my mind of us working together to help one another out. You're helping me, I'm helping you, and one of the ways you help me is feedback. So feedback is always appreciated as I continue to strive to be better, to do better, and to provide better and relevant content. So again, please let me know if that resonates with you, like that sort of annoying irritation of the bumpers, and did the effects I do work, or did they not work for you, or was it better but could be better again? I want to be open to improving, so thank you for that. And again, the comments from the community are great, not just your reflections, but feedback on things you like and don't like. I know in the past I've apologized when it's a solo episode where I just kind of do a ramble or a rant or stuff like that, and I apologize because I'm not bringing you an interview. And I've had several comments from people after that saying, no, I mean, one of the reasons they listen to the podcast is to get my perspective on things, and that there's more humanity in that too. So that's kind of cool as well. So anyways, I do value that feedback, and I appreciate those who take the time to leave their reflections or leave their feedback. So I'm going to play a bumper, hopefully a soft bumper, and then I'm going to get into my personal update. So personal update is, it's again a busy travel season going on for me. I'm recording this on the morning of Friday, September 12th, when this episode is going out. So I'm again behind on so much, because normally I like to get that done on Thursday. But what I'm trying to do is I've edited 2 episodes back to back, and I'm going to be recording the intros and outros and all that stuff back to back. So for the next episode, it'll actually, I may not have comments, but I'll get to that I'm getting ahead of myself here. Because on Friday, September 13th, I'm at DreadCon in Burlington, Ontario. It's an all-day horror convention. I'm really thrilled and excited about that. This is the 2nd annual one. And so, this afternoon I have to start packing my things up. But then on Tuesday, I'm flying out to Florida for Novelists Inc. I'm going to be doing a presentation with Draft to Digital there, and it's going to be great. There's going to be so many amazing people I haven't seen in years that I often would only see there. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm only back for a couple days before I fly off to Salt Lake City in Utah for FanX Salt Lake City, and I'm a guest speaker there. I'm pretty excited, featured as one of the authors there with my photo and my pictures, or pictures of my book, I should say, and I'm doing some panels. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm doing a panel on 40 years of Calvin and Hobbes. So I've just read 2 retrospective books about Bill Watterson and Calvin and Hobbes in the history of this, and I'm going to be going and digging through my entire collection of the Calvin and Hobbes books because I love them so much. But that'll be happening, and then I'm doing one on Stephen King, the adaptations of his works into movies, sort of discussing that, and then a panel on Writers of the Future, and I will be at the Galaxy Press / Writers of the Future booth there the majority of the time when I'm not on panels, because I'm going to have some books available for sale. And a huge shout out and thank you to Katie Cross and Todd Fonstock, who are helping me out. So Katie is loaning me her Square reader. And this is because I looked into it. So I have a really great Square reader that will print receipts and everything, and it works brilliantly. But you can't use it in a different country. So I'm registered in Canada, and I thought, do you just need a bank? Because I do have a branch, a TD bank in upstate New York, because sometimes I get U.S. checks from publishers, etc., and I have to cash them, and I can only put them into that U.S. account. It's just a weird thing. Anyways, but no, you also have to be not just a resident, because I could probably borrow someone's address of a friend of mine, but you actually have to be a citizen of the country. So I thought, I'll just register for Square with my U.S. stuff, but no, you can't. And so I was in a conversation with Katie and a couple other author friends, and Katie said, well, hey, I'm not going to be there, but Todd's going. I'm sending him something anyway. I'll send him the reader, and you can use it. You can log in to my account, add your books to it, and then we'll take care of that. And I was just, it's such a reminder to me of just how important that community is. Now it goes back to that reflection that Edwin shared, and you know what I mean. Like, I've known Katie for many years now, and it's been so exciting to watch her skyrocket into this amazing success that she so rightfully deserves, and she worked so hard for. I remember first interview I did with her, and it might have even been for the Kobo Writing Life podcast, I remember this conversation I had with her at one of the Superstars. I remember the table where we were sitting at breakfast at the hotel, the I won't want to call it the Anchor, but it's not the Anchor. It's the Antlers Hotel in downtown Colorado Springs. And I remember her talking about working with the other mothers, because she had young children, working with the other mothers, like baby age, right? Toddler baby age, where they each took everyone else's kids for half a day so that they could get errands done. And Katie used that time to get her writing done. The dedication of making time to make it happen. And she's been such an awesome person and a dear friend over the years. So it was just this lovely gesture. And again, this goes back to, we connected in person at Superstars Writing Seminars, probably in, 2012, 2013. So I've known her for many years now. I haven't seen her every single year. I saw her at Author Nation last year. I didn't see her at Superstars this last year, but the year before, and I'm so honored I got to connect her. And this is, again, the community. I got to connect her with Claire, and who helped her make these tremendously beautiful books for her last few Kickstarter. So it's like, yay, I got to be a linchpin. I got to connect 2 really awesome people together. Anyways, this is just a reflection on that value and the importance of community. And speaking of community, I just heard from somebody I've also known for a long time in the Canadian speculative realm, and have been invited to submit a story to a higher than pro rate paying horror anthology for Canadians. And again, It's part of that community. And recently, Maddie Dalrymple and I have been revising our book, Taking the Short Tack, which is a book about leveraging short fiction for, writing, whether it's for community, whether it's for income, whether it's for, your SEO, like your searchability and just having people find you. And in one of the chapters, we talk about that value of networking, and networking can be considered a dirty word, but that community, right? And connecting with other people and how that can lead to opportunities. And in my life, how many times I've been invited to submit short fiction and that just reminds me, I'm going to say it here so I remember, but I forgot to mention the microfiction examples of Tanya Hales, who's a brilliant writer and an artist that I also met at Superstars writing seminars. And Tanya invited me to write family-friendly, microfiction stories, like one-page stories for a coloring book project that she had also done on Kickstarter. And I was honored to be invited to 2 of those volumes. And again, that community and how when other people in the industry and you've connected with them and they're familiar with what you do, there are opportunities that they will bring to you. There are opportunities you will bring to them, and we're here to help one another out. In any case, I'm getting all excited about that. But so I will be at FanX Salt Lake City, and then more travel, right? So in November, going to Author Nation and in discussions about a panel. I'm going to be moderating on behalf of Draft to Digital that I'm really excited about. I'll talk about that once we have more details in a future episode. But no, it's exciting times. And the other last thing for personal update is last night and that's one of the reasons I didn't get this podcast done. I usually finish it off on Thursday night. But I started the 12-week Police Citizens Academy training with Waterloo Regional Police Services. And it was from 7 till 10 last night, and I think there were about 40 of us there, and there were obviously I think it was the second oldest person there. I thought I'd be the oldest person there, but there were a lot of young people, either just graduated from college or university, just graduated from high school, and were interested in joining the police force. That's how they just wanted to learn more. Now I'm there because I want to learn more. I want to connect with people, and I've even I was talking to an auxiliary constable. And someone who'd been doing it for 12 years, and I thought this could be really fascinating and insightful. And it reminds me, if I go back to, last week's episode and talking to A.L. Waddell about, people always think only about the horrific things that police officers see, but they also get to see such beautiful things. And it was a reminder when we had that first. And the police chief was there and talked to us for a while, and we talked to somebody from the DEI branch. We talked to somebody from the social media for the police, and we got to see some of the stories and some of the things that they're working on. But a lot of it was related to community, which again, we talked about a lot in that last episode. But it's absolutely been fascinating, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I'll probably share more about that in future episodes, because again, it's not only helping me understand more about local policing, not just the policing you see on media, etc., or even U.S. policing compared to Canadian policing, but it's just given me lots of incredible insights into my own community as well. Oh, and that was the other thing that the auxiliary officer I was talking to last night in more detail said, is she got to see parts of the city and neighborhoods that she would never normally travel to. And I do that when I travel. I like to see different parts of the town and the city. Like, when I go to Vegas, I'm not a fan of the Strip. I like going to other areas like the Arts District and stuff. So you get to see different parts of the city. And I thought that's really valuable to me. Like neighborhoods I remember that so much about the various times Liz and I have wandered on foot through different neighborhoods in New York, and every neighborhood has its own unique, beautiful feel. I mean, I get to drive through Canada's prairies, drive through most of Canada this summer, and get to see the beautiful, dynamic, individual bits and elements of our country, and the same thing happens with neighborhoods, even in a particular city or locale. And so again, I think there's value there because us as writers, we're constantly absorbing things and sponges. And the last personal update, because I'm doing a bit of a longer one because the next episode I'm not going to be doing a personal update. The last one is I was honored about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, I can't remember. I was honored to be interviewed by the Spa Girls for their podcast. And they've been doing that. They're kind of like Joanna Penn, in terms of the longevity of how long they've been doing this. And it was fun because I couldn't quite remember all the elements of what we talked about. So I was doing an event in Toronto this past, was it Monday night or Tuesday night? Monday night? I can't remember. One of these nights I was in, was it Wednesday? Who knows? I was in Toronto anyways. Maybe it was Wednesday. Speaking local Toronto writers group, the Brockton Writers Series. And so on the drive in, I'd finished the audiobook I was listening to. So I listened to that Spa Girls episode, and I was like, that was it was a really fun conversation. I talked too much because there were three of them there with me. But it was really great to listen back to that conversation. So I'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. But that's it for this extended personal update. Let's get into this conversation with Phil Marshall. Hey, Phil, welcome to the Stark Reflections podcast.
Fantastic, Mark. It's great to be with you.
So we're going to talk about your new book. We're going to talk about spoken, etc. But let's get the background. Let's get the goods on Phil Marshall. Like where did he come from? His inspiration getting into this whole world of writing and creating.
What's this guy all about, right?
Yeah, who is this guy?
Yeah. I'm 57 and I'm still trying to figure that out. So, but
the point of the journey is not to arrive, as Rush says, right?
I have a gauge in my living room, and I found it in a conversational AI company called Conversa, and it used to show us how many conversations we ran in a given day. And it was early in our trajectory, and we would only go up to maybe 80 in a day. So the gauge only went up to 80. When they closed the office, I took possession of that gauge, and I have it set to my age up at the corner of my living room, facing me every day to tell me that I need to get shit done now because because that little ticker, it only goes to 80. I've got enough room to add 80 to 100 if I am so fortunate.
Gotcha.
I will not be climbing up myself at that point to add the extra swipe, but I look at that every day and I'm like, you better get your shit done. And so the backstory on me, when it comes to the literary field or the audiobook field, I was trained as a surgeon, and I switched early on, more than 25 years ago, into product development in technology. So I ran
Was
product.
that related to technology for surgery or medical procedures or anything?
Well, so web-based technology. So I ran product at WebMD for several years, and then I went on to a couple of other ventures, including a failed media venture, which probably should have taught me more, in going into media. But then I founded Conversa, the leading conversational AI company automating conversations between doctors and their patients. So very clinical conversations driven from the profile of the patient, the in-depth profile. And so the profiling, knowledge graphing, and personalization has been a big part of my career. So we sold that in 2021, and I went to finish my sci-fi novel, which I'd had baking in my head ever since 2001, 9/11, 2001, when I came up with my theory of persistence, a theory in gravitational physics. I wanted to write an interesting story around that. So when we sold in 2021, I'd already done some, workshops getting ready for that, but then I got really serious about it. So then I pretty much completed that. It's still a work in progress, but at WorldCon a few weeks ago, I distributed the very first actual print versions of that for advanced readers to review, 130 different copies. I'm still waiting on most of those to turn around and
Wait,
get
you brought
reviews.
130 physical copies so you could get early readers there. Were
I
they
took
all known to you, or was this I was going to get some of them when I was at WorldCon?
None were known to me. I had 100
Oh,
paperback and I distributed not only, well, I took 80, I had to mail 20 more, and then I distributed 30 ebook copies to them as well. And so that audience, which saw that cover art, I had a banner. So they saw that cover art, they were attracted as the right reader for that work. And I'm so
right.
fortunate that those advanced reader reviews are coming in on Goodreads and they're stellar feedback, which is fantastic. And so, yeah, my journey is now like marching up to this Friday, which is my actual debut novel launch day, Taming the Perilous Skies, a hard sci-fi novel set in the year of 2076, after this unified theory in physics results in the invention of anti-gravity, which transforms the world massively and society, and it actually brings about a lot of big, even spiritual implications, which is why the church, it plays a role in the book. They actually end up playing a role. So it's fun, it's cool, it's sort of a vibe of Dan Brown meets Andy Weir. So it's hard sci-fi, yes, but it's also fun with a bit of a thriller and mystery
Wow.
arc
Okay.
to it,
Wow.
and a bit of the humor and fun of a Martha Wells murder bot as well. So
Wow.
it's it, and my cover is just so awesome. The same cover designer that did Hugh Howey's Silo series books did
Ah,
my cover art. I was the first cover he's done in 5 years because he took a break, and he
wow.
just knocked it out of the park. And so anyway, you can tell it's an exciting week
Yeah, no kidding, no
here.
kidding. And I mean,
Yeah.
I was just thinking of when I saw the cover, it's got that starkness to it. It's got that Logan's Run appeal of, that few, like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It has a whole bunch of different
It's got a
elements.
bit of a retro, but it's definitely
Yeah.
genre, right? I mean, it's
Oh
so
yeah, for
genre.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But it
and
also
so
has
yeah.
the thriller aspects to it as well, right? Like very much it's not just hard sci-fi, but there's gonna be some action,
Oh, there's a
right?
lot of
Yeah.
action. Yeah, I mean, Jack is handed the most consequential investigation in history and why the aerial grid has malfunctioned and millions are dropping to their death. And so that investigation is in his pocket and he has to solve it within 12 hours because his 9-year-old son is going to be among the casualties if he doesn't.
Right.
And so he has to collaborate with the 95-year-old inventor of anti-gravity, which is the most ridiculous, flamboyant person in history, like ridiculous human in every way, and a quantum encryption genius who really adds a great dimension to the story. So yeah, it's fun.
Oh,
It's
cool,
really quite
cool.
the thing. Yeah,
And so
and
this
of
is
course
going to be
spoken. There's
available.
the audio too. So
Well, yeah, this is
yeah.
going to be available September 12th, 2025.
Yeah,
Right?
this Friday is all formats, but the day before, because I'm audio first and I advertise myself as audio first as the founder of Spoken, I'm going to be releasing the first chapter in audio the day before, which will be Thursday. And
Yeah.
then every few days after that, another chapter.
So
So yeah,
hang on, before we get to this, where can people find those chapters if they're all excited? Because chances are by the time this episode comes out, a few of the episodes are going to be available already.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Spoken.press is where they will be initially released.
Spoken.press, awesome.
Yeah, spoken, and we'll talk about that. In fact, the little author intro. So it's spoken. The person who says, made was spoken in their little
Yeah,
jingle,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then the title and the author name is the narrator you choose as the author. And so as opposed to this is Audible, which is the same guy, God rest his soul, he's passed now, but your chosen narrator is the one that narrates that, your title, your author, and then you can add your own personal audio intro. And mine is
Well,
going to
you can
be,
add your own voice to that's a
well,
newer.
you can not only add your own voice as one of the narrators of the work of your words, but you can add your own personal intro. And my personal intro is going to go something like this. I haven't recorded it yet. It'll be like tomorrow I do this. And that is, I hope you enjoy my debut novel, Made with Spoken, another of my inventions that was inspired by the very work you're about to hear.
Oh, that sounds good.
That's meta, right?
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. Okay, so four. Now, I think I first learned about Spoken Author Nation 2024.
Last year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
last
November.
year. What year are we in now? So,
Yeah, I know, right?
it's
Yeah.
just been a weird time. So
It's
yeah,
been a
I think it
weird
was
thing on the
November
planet. Yeah.
2024. So for those who aren't familiar with Spoken, Phil, you said you were the founder of Spoken. Let's
Yeah.
dig into that backstory.
Yeah. So when I was going through this journey and writing my novel, I had the great fortune of meeting some fantastic people, and several of them were at the Taos Toolbox Writing Workshop, one of the most preeminent sci-fi, speculative fiction writing workshops out there, run by Nancy Kress and Walter John Williams. And two of the people there in particular really influenced me. So Russ Nickel, who's the funniest person I've ever met in my life. He's the lead writer for Helldivers 2, the massively popular game. And he was at this workshop and he wrote a story that where his first the story that we critiqued in week one killed off the POV character in the first scene. And I'm like, I love that. I love killing off the POV character in the first scene. And so for week two, I wrote this short story called Kill Your Darlings, which had six people trapped in a chalet in France during a storm. And the kind of the centerpiece is this guy who feigns being this famous young, British writer. So he fakes this British accent. There's an elderly Norwegian. There's a Russian oligarch father and his daughter. There's a gay American couple, and they all have these different accents and voices and all. And I knew that I wanted to create a great multi-voice work of that. And one of the other guys at this workshop, his name's Eric, filled me in on the state of the art. Here I am, kind of an AI guy, but I didn't know about AI narration at ElevenLabs. Are you kidding me right now? Right. So he clues me into the state of the art. I'm like, okay, I'm making this story into a great six-person multi-voice work. And oh my God, the workload, the workflow, the voice actors I still had to hire because the accents weren't there and all. And I just said, you know what? I I can build a better product than this. I'm a product person. I can do better than that. And
Yeah.
so I founded Spoken. And just a couple of weeks ago, we've launched our V1 product after a year in beta, learning from authors exactly what they need to create the perfect audiobook. And while single narrator and dual narrator are the majority of the works that go through Spoken, multi-voice is our specialty because of, and I'm at fault there.
It's your fault
I've
for writing
designed
that
it.
story in that workshop.
Yeah, well, so that's right. So we automatically parse your work into the speaking characters. We identify who's speaking, and then we help you to generate or find the exact voice for that character based on how you describe them. And we do all of that automatically. And so all of the pacing and the timing and the narrative cohesion of emotional cues, we automate that as much as possible. So it's as easy as possible for you to create a stellar world-class multi-voice work. And I'm happy to say I believe that Taming the Perilous Skies, as I release these chapters, you'll find that it is really exemplary of that state of the art.
Wow. Okay, so I want to get into this. So let's go back to I'm a consumer. This sounds like a great novel. I really want to enjoy it. That way you're releasing it week by week by week. How much is it going to cost me as a consumer to enjoy that story?
Well, when it goes out on Spotify, I don't know what the pricing is going to look like there.
Okay. That's going to be for the
And
full audio on Spotify, or is that going to be like podcast-ish, like with season to or episode to episode?
right now I'm focused on chapter by chapter on Spoken. And then once I have all of that out, like the
Right.
day I have the final, epilogue out,
Yeah.
I will then have
Release
the
the audio, the full audio book.
the full audio
But how
exactly.
much to listen to it on spoken? How much is it going to cost me?
Oh, I'm not going to charge anything for the audio
It's
for listening
free
to
to
the
listen
audio.
to, so people can enjoy this novel like week by week as you unroll it.
Yeah, yeah. And what I hope is that it'll inspire people to want to buy the ebook or paperback or hardcover, which this Friday become fully available on Amazon and Ingram Spark, and then hopefully build up enough enthusiasm for it. Out of 50, there's 50 chapters. There's
Well,
the
that's going to be
epilogue.
almost a year if you do it weekly.
Yeah, if I do, well, no, I'm not going to do it weekly. I'll do it every like 3 days.
Okay, all
Um,
right. So you
yeah,
about half a year then to get to it. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
wow. All
exactly.
right. So is that same audio version going to be the one that's available for people to consume if they just like, I don't want to wait. I just want to listen to it all now.
Yeah,
Or
so
will they
so
have a choice? Will they
no,
have
no,
it?
you won't initially have a choice.
Yeah.
I'm only going to be doing the audio as a stage serialized release. Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay,
yeah,
I like that. That's kind of an interesting way so you can consume it different ways.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hope, I hope that builds up kind of a, a
Yeah.
bit of a rolling thunder. I've got I've got a fantastic trailer coming out on Friday to promote the book Broadly Writ. And my team at Spoken has produced that. We're getting into creating these fantastic trailers for books as well, which is becoming a big part of what we're about. And so yeah, it's a fun space for sure.
Cool, cool. Awesome. Okay, so let's dig into Spoken a little bit more now. You
Yeah.
had mentioned you were in sort of beta release for almost a full year or a full year? More
More
than
than
a
just barely more than a year. Yeah,
just a bit
exactly.
over a year. And now it's is Spoken actually as the time of this recording, which is early September, is it actually now available as a product or is it still launching as a full product?
No, we just launched a couple of weeks ago as a full V1 product. And so here, I'll share a screen with you. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So what you see here is my debut novel, Taming the Perilous Skies. I called it my base project because this is where I'm doing my fiddling before I lock down the installments that are
Right,
that are
right.
ready and final. But what you can see here is our initial pass for the entire novel, and we do
Yeah,
all of these analyses at the chapter level, and then we roll them up at the novel level, and that is just basic attributes like you see
yeah.
here. But then we roll the summary of each chapter up into an Uber summary, and
Okay.
then the channels, which are just your tags here,
Yeah.
right? Those guys there, and then comparables, and the author can edit any of these, and then you can see that I've got foul language. And I don't know what the hate speech is. That's just weird to see that there. But in any case, I'd like, what is that? I mean, yeah, my 95-year-old is pretty ridiculous and
Oh,
says
is
some
that based on
crazy.
the content itself that's been
Yeah,
loaded?
that's right. So we do the safety
This is
analysis on
like
every.
analytical AI says, hey, there's some adult language here. There's some, okay.
Yeah, so we do it at the chapter level and then we roll it up at the book level.
Right,
And
right.
then because I chose this little gem right here called
Multi-voice narration, yeah.
multi-voice, okay, we analyze the work and automatically identify every speaker of every
Oh, so
passage.
this Jack Woods should be read by this voice.
We will generate those voices based around how you describe Jack, your character, okay? You can see this right here, right? This description.
Okay, so this is a pragmatic yet deeply caring father in 2076 Washington grappling with. So you're given his character sketch.
Yeah, so we automate that entirely, including for the main narrator as well. And so you can see I've got over 100 speaking characters in this
Whoa.
book. But where the rubber hits the road is right here on passages. And so you can see we have lexicon here where you can actually put in your proper pronunciation for things that might be
Oh, so I
complex.
could put in like LaFave for the copyright page. How to
Yeah,
pronounce.
that's right. That's right.
Okay.
And so here you see, the Taming the Perilous Skies by Phil Marshall, and then I haven't added my personal intro here, but I can do that here. But if we
Right.
just let's see if let's hope you can hear this. Let's try this
Okay.
little intro out here.
Made with Spoken. Taming the Perilous Skies by Phil Marshall.
Are you able to hear that? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that fine.
Okay, yeah. And so where the rubber hits the road though is in the actual passages of the installment. Now I have first person POV in about half my chapters. And so while the epigraph is narrated by the narrator, and you
Right.
can see all the different attributes we have for every different passage, the amount of
Right.
padding, the intonation, the emotional cues, all that. Once we get down to chapter one and my main character, he actually is the narrator of his own chapters.
Right.
Okay. And so you can see how all of this is parsed apart by
Oh
the
yeah, so what you have is the dialogue. I'm just for people listening to the audio. What you see is the dialogue from a character, and then you can see the different color label, and then when you click on it, you see that it's a different voice that's doing that.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so I'm just going to play just a moment for you. Is that okay? Is that cool? Yeah.
Why did the moon cross the earth? I asked with a weighty seriousness.
To get to the other tide.
He said, Eric's ghost Nothing more than a ping pong ball-sized anti-gravity orb shrouded in a Kleenex darted between us. He leaned forward slightly.
What do female ghosts have that male ghosts don't?
Boobs, I replied spookily, willing my eyes not to blink. Tank. Stupid marble. There hadn't been a single aerial incident in years, despite 7.2 billion flights every day.
Okay, so you get the point.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so what happens there is then once you're happy with all of that, with the arc of that narration,
Yeah.
then you just hit finish up, and we stitch it, we master it to ACX level quality standards, and then you've got your files, and you download them for distribution into Spotify for authors, or all of the various other places that you can do that.
Oh, cool. Okay, so you've got like a lot of control. And I'm glad you mentioned ElevenLabs because yeah, I've got the account with them and the different voices, but it's a lot of manual mastering that you have to do.
Yeah,
So
one of the things that we really focus on is making sure that the right voice is for you. And you can
yeah,
generate that based on you can generate all of my voices are generated around the character exclusive for me. If you want to
right,
choose voice actor voices from our library, that's great. We've got a
right.
great selection there. I generate mine from scratch, and each one is proprietary to me just for that
So
character.
that voice is not going to be, I can't go, oh, I really like the Jack Wood character. I want to use him in my book. No, that's
Exactly.
in Phil's book. Okay.
That's exclusive to me, and I can use it for my subsequent works, right? So it's exclusive to me as an author. But yeah, that adds a real identity, to
Okay. All
the
right. So I
audio.
have a question then. I'm just practically very personal, selfish question, of course, is so I have urban fantasy novel, A Canadian Werewolf in New York. I've paid a professional narrator, I have that narrated version, but I'd be interested I've played around with duets at least, but I'd love to do multicast where every character has their own voice. So I can create an author account at Spoken. I can load this in and I can do the same sort of thing where I can say, okay, the narrator, Michael Andrews, may have a slightly different voice than when he's speaking to other people because as a narrator, he's confident and stuff like that. But when he speaks to other people, he's not. He's right. Like potentially, I might have a slightly different voice.
Oh,
I
oh,
don't
you
know.
do first POV then, obviously,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
first,
that's just
first
like what I
POV
showed
is
you,
like,
right?
this is the
Yeah.
narrator voice. But then when I speak to people, I'm a little bit less. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's
in-
that's what you get with Jack there, right? When he's
yeah.
talking to his son, it's different than when
Yeah,
he's
it's his
just
voice when he's
exposition.
talking to his son. So I
Yeah.
like that. And then I can go and create that. And then for all of the various characters that appear in it, I can have different voices for the different people he encounters, even if they only have one speaking part,
Well,
right?
right. I kid
Yeah.
all the time that I've got somebody who comes through a crowd and says, "Excuse me, we have a unique voice for the guy who says excuse me in a crowd."
Yeah, exactly. All right. So as an author, this sounds like a really amazing tool, and then I can, get stitched together. Once I'm happy, I can fix the
Yep,
pronunciations. So,
yep,
for example,
yep.
here in the city of Regina, I know the name in the U.S. is Regina, right? And so it's an American Canadian thing that I've heard in audiobooks. So like, no, the city's not named Regina, but anyways.
Oh, yeah, dude. I
So
mean, well, we
you
have
can do
11
stuff
labs,
like that. You can fix it, right?
right? Yeah.
Anyways, you have the
It,
lexicon. But this
you
sounds
have
like
the
this would probably
lexicon,
cost
but
me thousands of dollars, wouldn't it, to use a tool like this?
well,
That's my
so
leading question.
no, it won't, and let me tell you why. And so a couple of things, just back on the voices. So 11 Labs and Hume are our two featured partners.
Okay.
And Hume has some advantages in just the emotive nature of their voices, the naturalness of
Yeah.
their voices. You heard some of that there a moment ago. 11 Labs V3 is very good, got a lot of good naturalness there. I think Hume still has an advantage. They're the ones that I'm choosing for most of my voices, not all. And yet 11 Labs has some advantages as well. They
Well, Eleven
have
Labs has my voice, so instead of me re-recording that, I could just use my 11 Labs
That's right.
voice.
Yeah,
There
that's
you
right.
go.
That's right.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what role in my book my voice is gonna
Oh,
is
he's
going
going
to
to be the
say,
excuse me guy in the street, right?
excuse me, right? Exactly. It's probably some
I had a
ridiculous
cameo in my
guy,
own book.
where did that come from? Like some flyby cameo that was completely unnecessary to the story. Actually, I have an Italian guy named Filippo that is just a cad. I mean, and
His
so I
last
think
name is Marcello, maybe.
something like probably I don't know what his last name is, but yeah. Anyway, so we do have those different voices, and they have different advantages. As far as like re-narrating, sometimes with Hume in particular, you do have to re-narrate, over and over. What we do at Spoken, you talk about cost, is we actually charge our customers in the same way that our customers think about their own works, and that is in words. And so if you have a 100,000 word novel, you'll buy those in blocks of 5,000 words. So in 100,000 words,
Oh, okay. So short
you'll buy,
stories would cost less.
yep. So when you go to narrate your work, even if you only start with narrating the first chapter, we'll charge you for the project. And so you'll buy 20 of those blocks of 5,000 words. We'll round up to the next 5,000 words. So, and it's only $5 per 5,000 words. If you're a subscriber, you get 50% off. And so it's $5 for 5,000 words, which means that for a 100,000 word novel, that's $100. And what we do is you buy the words and then
Wait, only $100?
right. And then we give you a block. Right now we're at 50%, just because there's more re-narration than we'd like, and we'll be in the future. We'll probably bring that down to 25%. But right now you get 50% of those words, 50,000 words in that case, back to you as edit credits. In other words, re-narrating. And if all you're doing is adding to some of the padding, or maybe you're changing the volume, that's not re-narrating. That's not going back for re-narration. And so we don't ding that against your word count. So you have edit credits to make that perfect without being nickeled and dimed. And that's really different than how the other services work. First of all, we're by word count like you are, right? Second of all, we're going to give you the edit credits so you're not nickeled and dimed. And we give you some just great tools of generating custom voices and the use of Hume as well as ElevenLabs. And so, there's a lot of good advantages there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I'm thinking, I love different versions of different audiobooks. So I was kind of like, okay, I have the one with the professional narrator, but this could be a multicast one, and I don't have to spend an additional several $1,000s to get this version. I can have the spoken version that only costs me $100.
Yeah,
So
and
I
we
can
don't charge
have a
any
different
different.
version of the audiobook available, and then I can download that, and then I can upload that to Findaway Voices and ACX and the various
Right.
places that will accept
Not
digitally
ACX
narrated.
yet. Let's caveat that just so
Yeah,
your viewers are not under, anything there. And that is
right.
that ACX is still the one blocker in that if it's AI generated narration, you have to you have to use the very
Oh, you have to use the
substandard.
the one that Amazon has. Yeah, yeah.
You have to
Sorry,
use
but
the very
Findaway Voices
substandard.
has. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, which
Or
doesn't
sorry,
link.
in audio, I should say,
So
as
in
of
audio is
August.
spun
Yeah,
out of Spotify now.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And so Spotify for authors, fully supportive of these works, and
yeah.
also in audio, also very supportive. And so yeah, lots of good avenues. We know the good folks at Audible and ACX, and we're working on them. So
And you
just
know
give
what?
us a
It's only a
little bit of
matter of
time.
time because there were, even 3 years ago, there were platforms that weren't accepting AI audio.
So when Spotify for authors opened up on August 1st to all AI works, and all you have to do is click a
Yeah, you
digital
just have
narration
to
checkbox.
be honest with. Yeah,
Right.
and
You
well,
just click.
they have ways of testing, and the way I found out is I think I have my own voice and I needed to fix something and I didn't want to re-record the whole passage, so I just used my AI voice and even just a couple words it detected, hey, this is an
Oh,
AI
really?
voice. Yeah, and it was like, oh man, like I said kilometers instead of miles or something like that, and I didn't want to go and I didn't want to go record the whole thing,
Buzzer
so I
goes
just
off.
used my
Like,
AI voice and I grabbed it and I threw it in there and I went, and they went, nope, this is AI. You didn't tell us it was AI. I'm like, what? But it was just one word.
that's
So
so
I mean,
freaky.
it's impressive,
Like,
but obviously there's going to be a fingerprint in the audio file that I used that was in the file somewhere that the peon like me can't see.
well, we don't deal with that because we are digital narration, just period, full
Yeah,
stop.
it's digital
Say that you
narration. So
are.
you're like, let's just be honest with the consumer, right? That's the
But
key
when
thing
when
is, yeah.
yeah, When Spotify
Cool.
for Authors opened up the floodgates on August 1st, it became a validated,
Yeah.
full market validation of
Yeah,
using this
I love that
methodology.
idea though of having that other. So real, I mean, it would only cost $100 to do 100,000
And we
word
don't
novel.
charge any different for multi-voice than we do for single. Now, I will say
Wow.
that on those edit credits, you're going to burn through more of those edit credits on multi because
Yeah.
getting that arc, getting that narrative cohesion just right, especially if you're on Hume,
Yeah, but
does take
even
some
even if the
reiteration.
cost comes to $500 after all of
Oh,
the
yeah, no, no,
edit,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I'm just looking at it from the point of view. So I'm fortunate enough as an author, I've made enough money that I will invest thousands of dollars into an audiobook. But I still like the idea of having another version that maybe is cheaper for people to consume or purchase, you know, so if they don't want the human narrated one. Is an author who hasn't yet been able to afford audio, but has listeners who want to listen to them in audio. This removes that barrier for them in such a beautiful way.
Well, let me tell you my reaction to that. And yes, yes, right, yeah, yes. But we actually do not see our multi-voice narration as something that you're settling for because it's cheaper.
No,
It's
no, no, no.
actually,
It's a premier product, which
yeah,
blows my
just that's just
mind.
it.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden now, yes, far cheaper, but also so vibrant, right? And
yeah,
I'll say one other thing, and I say this to the voice actor community all the time. I was just talking with Stefan Rudnicki in LA, who runs Skyboat Media, about this, and that I still believe that the single studio recorded voice actor narration for single narrator is still the gold standard, just because you're still getting more of those natural inflections, and I
yeah,
still really like that for single. And it's reasonably accessible through ACX, on from a cost perspective. And so I'm actually pursuing single narrator voice, studio recording for my own work. But multi-voice, that would have cost you. Do you know how much that would have
Oh,
cost you?
I know. Well, what you just did with all those voices.
What do
You're
you think
probably
that would normally have cost from a studio recording?
between 30 to $50,000 when you
Oh, well,
consider.
that's more than I usually say. I usually say 15 to 20, but
Oh,
yeah,
really? Okay. I was just thinking with all those different voices, and you're like, I don't go to the studio for a minimum of a 3 hour charge. You know what I mean? Like that, because you
so
got to
you're
pay
right.
the studio a
Yeah,
minimum, right?
I suppose you're right. If it were actually
So
all
even if I
100,
just did one line, I got to rent the studio. I'm not charging you for a half second of work. I'm going to
right,
charge you a
right.
full hour or something.
Here's the point. The technology is now at such a point, we're proving this with spoken every day, that this new dimension of audiobooks, multi-voice, which was never accessible to the indie author before at all, period.
No, it wasn't.
Off the
No.
table. Off the table. Now, as accessible to you
Hmm.
as single narrator. Does it take more
Yeah.
handholding? It sure does. I know that firsthand because I'm finalizing all my chapters right now. But
Hmm.
I will say this, the biggest growth in audiobooks is going to be multi-voice because of the new dimension that is now available to everybody.
Yeah. And again, I love giving consumers the choice, right? Hardcover, paperback, ebook, and then single narrated, duet, multicast. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like in my ideal world, giving the choice to the consumer is a win for everyone.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, wow. So, okay. So going in, you just go to where do you go as an author if you want to sign up? You go to spoken.press. Is
Yeah,
that
that's all. Yep, that's it.
spoken.press?
Yep.
And then you can create it from there. So I was a beta user. Now I did some short stories when you were in beta,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
I will probably for my listeners I'll have a special clip where you can listen to multicast narration of one of my horror stories if you want to
yeah.
give it a shot. Because it's kind of cool because you get the narrator, then you get the dialogue and stuff. It's really fun, and I didn't spend a lot of time you massaging it. I just kind of went with what you gave me, and it's pretty stunning on its
Yeah,
own.
it's pretty stunning. It is
Yeah.
right out of the gate. My standards on mine don't allow me that. And I have so many
Well,
different so many
I
different
mean, I was
accents.
playing. It was early on. I'm like, oh, let's just play with this and see
Yeah,
what
it's
I
true.
can get.
Yeah, yeah, that's
But that
true.
means, so can I log in using my existing account, or do I have to
Of
create a
course.
new
Yeah, of
account in the
course.
new V1 version?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. No problem.
Cool. Awesome.
And so yeah, we'd love to have you back and your viewers there. We're racing ahead. We got another release coming out Wednesday that is going to have some great enhancements for the author and using Studio.
So
Just
Wednesday, the 10th of September.
Yeah, that's another release.
Yeah.
We're just we move pretty quick, and so right now when you do your passages, if you re-narrate a passage, you have to wait till that narration is done before you can edit another one. On Wednesday, that goes away, and you can just do multiple parallel independent passage
Oh, so you're not
readers and
like, oh, I
everything.
got to go get a coffee or whatever while I'm waiting
Well,
for this.
it doesn't
No,
take that long. Hume takes a little bit longer
no,
than
but
Eleven
in
Labs.
I mean, it's not when I started on the press play on tape one era. I started in that era where you're like, I'm gonna go eat dinner now, and then my game will be loaded.
What year? Here you
But now
go.
we have no attention span whatsoever. If it takes 3 seconds, oh, I'm gonna go do something else.
Books on tape hit the market in what year?
Books on tape. I don't know what year. 1987.
1975. 50 years
Oh my
this
God, that early. Books
50
on tape
years
was
this year.
75.
Yep. 50 years this year, books on tape.
Wow.
Pretty cool, right?
I thought, wow, that's amazing. 50 years.
Yeah.
And how far have we come?
Well, we're going further faster now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Wow.
cool.
So, what did we miss? The talking about the Spoken and stuff like that. So, consumers who want to check it out, can you go to Spoken and actually get some samples of some of the books that exist there, or how does that
Sure.
work?
Yeah. Well, you can go on to Spoken and see thousands of examples from short stories to full on audiobooks. Just go search for them, see them by genre, right? There's a lot of folks who use Spoken just to put out some of their teaser chapters, their first chapters, their
Wow.
little short story that complements their novel. We allow you to do that and just post that
So I
and
can
make it
just go
available to
post
your
it on
friends.
YouTube, or I can put it in
You can
my
download the
podcast.
audio and you can put it on YouTube, or if you just want to post the link for your friends to come straight into Spoken, there's no cost to listen to things on Spoken.
Oh.
And so yeah, you can just do that. Sure. Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool. All right, so for Spoken, you go to spoken.press and just follow what you need to do as a listener, as a creator.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then for Phil Marshall for his new book that's coming out, where can people find out more about you?
Well, the reviews from advanced readers are already coming into Goodreads and Amazon. So Taming the Perilous Skies. You'll see my bio there. You'll see that the book launches on September 12th, this Friday. And then on spoken.press starting Thursday, we'll have the serialized release. If you're part of the Spoken email distribution, you'll get updates on that. And so you'll not be able to avoid it. And so it's going to be a really interesting next few weeks and the remainder of the year. This is all new territory for me being a debut author, and I created Spoken as a result of this experience. So it's a little
Oh,
bit
wow.
meta, you know.
I love that. All right, so one final question. Thank you for that. There may be people who are listening to this that are terrified or nervous or trepidatious or feel like, oh my God, what is this doing? This disruption, it's kind of scary and it's evil or whatever. Or they're nervous and scared. Are people going to judge me if I use a product like this? Because there is a lot of infighting in the author communities, especially in relation to anything that has the letters A and I together. Even Al, sometimes people get upset when they see Al, right? But because they think, it's a visual joke. Anyways, what's something that you would want to say to authors who are kind of nervous and a little bit trepidatious, a little bit scared because of some of that?
Yeah, I think what you have to do is you have to just keep focused on what you do. You write words, you bring stories to life for readers. Focus on that, right? And work with partners who are doing things for the right reasons. In the case of Spoken, for example, right? We're authors for authors. We're developing a technology that makes something accessible to you now that was inaccessible before. And we do it in a way that is ethical and above board. In our library, you'll see that it's voice actors and their voices in the library that get paid for every use. But if we want a system generated voice, that's generated around your character that you wrote, right? And so I would say, don't buy into just all of the fear hype. If you want to know about how that AI is actually trained and actually works and how those patterns in taking what might be a bit of text and translates into an inflection of sound, I'd be happy to share that with you. And I think what you'll find is that there was not a major theft going on in order to achieve that, the way those patterns were created and the way that they're mimicked now in AI. And so I think you should feel confident mostly in just yourself and you bringing your story to life in the best way that you can. And you hopefully can always rely on partners, like us to be there for the right reasons.
Awesome. Phil, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and sharing the good news about your forthcoming book and the good news about Spoken.press.
Thanks, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Okay, so some reflections from this conversation is, I think I want to focus on a few things. The first is Phil creating something that other authors can use because of his background, his experience. And I'm reminded of folks like Damon Courtney from BookFunnel, as was writing epic fantasy fiction and then decided to create this tool that's become this incredibly powerful force for helping empower authors in the community. And I look at Phil and the idea of this science fiction novel that's been sitting there wanting to work on and you could hear it in his voice, just how passionate and excited he is about getting this book into the world, but then also about this tool that he used to solve a problem he had, and now he's turning it into something that's going to help other people. This goes back to my earlier, reflection that Edwin kicked off about community, and I love that about this author community, and I think particularly this week when so much, I've just been saddened by the lack of humanity that people are displaying over an event several events that happened, not just this week, but have been happening for a long time. And we've just seemed to be so cold. And when those things happen, all we look at is, okay, we're going to blame this group that we don't agree with for this, as opposed to looking at how we could come together. And maybe because it was the 24th anniversary of September 11th, yesterday, I was thinking, I think I commented on somebody, I saw a friend who shared something really beautiful. And I remember, I'll just put it this way, there was a time when tragedy could bring people together, and I don't know, well, I think I know which orange-faced con felon leader to blame for this, because he normalized hate and blaming other people as opposed to lifting people together. Now, I did not like George W. Bush at all. I had no respect for the man, even from his senator days. And he was president when 9/11 happened. But I remember his talk, his speech. I remember his focus on Americans working together. And I remember it felt like America came together, and the world, most of the world, seemed to come together in support. And I'm mourning the loss of people coming together. But we can make a difference. And this goes back to us as authors, and this goes back to the reflection on community. We don't have to agree. We don't have to, write the same genres or read the same genres or even agree on certain things. But the one thing I hope we can agree on is respect for other human beings and not blaming or persecuting people for their differences, but coming together and supporting one another. And I know the world is a scary place and vicious, and people are being mean to one another and horrible and killing one another and saying certain people shouldn't exist. I think we can make a positive difference by focusing on community. And even if it's that small part of community, which is, what can I do to help another writer? Every little thing that you do in that manner of thinking about community makes the world a better place and reminds other people of the beauty in humanity when we can find the things that we share in common as opposed to the things that divide us or that are different. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about that. But I think that community is so valuable and so important. That's why I love the author community so much, and that's why that word is so powerful to me. Now, the other thing is, what Phil was talking about with the multicast narration and what it would cost, etc. So yes, this solves a huge problem. But it also is a reminder, and it's why I'm playing with spoken as well, even though I have human-narrated audiobooks. And it's this ideal world of giving the consumer the choice in the format and how they want to read or how they want to consume something. And that's a reminder, a deeper reminder, but beyond just that, a reminder of the importance of focusing on the reader. It came up in the conversation. You jokingly asked Phil, I think it was it? Oh, maybe I'm confusing the two interviews I've edited back to back. It was Tabitha King. So it either was in that interview or it's going to come up next week. Is Tabitha King and Stephen King writing for that ideal reader, his wife. Will this make Tabby happy? And that's the thing: is will this give the readers what they want? And romance writers are so, well, not all of them, but most of the romance writers that are very successful, they're doing this. They know the readers want these things, and they give it to them so beautifully. And that's what we need to do. We make sure we're doing. Yes, you're writing books for yourself. I get that. That's so valuable. But you're probably part of the ideal readership if you're writing that book for yourself, because there are other people like you. And I know that will come up in next week's episode, that passion that you have for a story. But again, focusing on that and what's that value that somebody gets out of this book, this story, this nonfiction piece, that's the key for us to focus on. Now, I have been playing with, as I mentioned in the interview, I've been playing with my own creations from Spoken. I will share some samples and links to that. I just went in after the conversation with Phil. I went in, I loaded this time around. It's about a 45-minute short story that I already have a professional voice narrator for, and is already available for free on YouTube, for example. With Scott Overton, but I have the multicast narration version of that I did through Spoken, and it really is only about an hour of fooling around to get that and to pick the different voices. And I went in and adjusted and said, no, that's not how that sounds in my mind, the way I imagine that character. So I went and made some adjustments, but it was a really fun experience. And then I downloaded that. I'm going to upload that to YouTube, and there'll be a link to that in the show notes. And I think I did fool around with it earlier with one of my earlier horror stories, and I'll see if I can get a link to that as well. I'll also have a link to them on Spoken. Now, you can listen to them for free on Spoken as well, but you do have to create a free account, whereas on YouTube, it seems to be easily accessible publicly. But in any case, I am curious to continue to experiment with it, and I'm sharing those examples so you can actually listen. And again, there will be links to the stuff Phil talked about, as well as Spoken, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in the show notes at starkreflections.ca. But that's it for this reflection. That is it for this episode. I want to thank you so much for listening. And a reminder, I love the feedback on the bumpers. What you think? Did I actually make it a little bit better by softening those bumpers? Because I really do want to improve and continue to improve this podcast for you. Because if I'm doing stuff that's too annoying, I want to cut that out. For example, I have an annoying way that I clear my throat. And sometimes when I'm recording my longer bits, I cut those out. Because, trust me, Liz tells me how annoying it is. When I clear my throat that way, the poor woman has to hear it all the time. But thank God she loves me. and that's just one of those minor things, because apparently there are some other positives with hanging around with me. But, I cut those things because I know that would be annoying to the listener. So again, let me know the feedback. That's very, very valuable. And I'm reminding you here because we've already gone 45 minutes ago I mentioned it and we probably forgot about it. So I'm reminding you as we get close to the end of the podcast. But thank you so much for listening. Until next week and until next episode, this is Mark Leslie Lefebvre wishing you great writing and good Stark Reflections.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.